Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we have a kind of special review. This is going to be the very last review that I film in Durham at the moment. So I'm going to go back up to Scotland for a little while before I head over to Sweden. And for this review I just wanted to actually say thank you to you guys, the viewers, for all the support you've shown me over the last year. And I wanted to dedicate this review to my two beer dealers that I've had over my time while I've been here in Durham. So first off, a shout out to Mark and to Dave at Market Hall Wines. Most of the beers you've seen me review this year have actually come from them. I discovered them very early on during my time and I've had some really interesting stuff from them. For example, a lot of the Highlands beers that you saw me review came through them. The Almasty stuff that I reviewed came from them as well, and also the Portuguese beers. You know, they've given me some really great recommendations over the time that I've been here. So a huge thank you to Mark and Dave for all the help that they've given the channel in terms of beer recommendations over the last little while. And also a shout out to Ben at the Hop Knocker, who I only discovered maybe 2-3 months ago, actually, a new addition to the kind of Durham craft beer scene. But a lot of the Verdants, the Cloudwaters, the Magic Rocks, and some of the more kind of unusual English breweries that you've seen me review recently, like Twisted Barrel and all of that, they have come from they've come from the Hop Knocker and things like that. So that's a new shop in Durham that you definitely need to check out. But we've got two really great beer dealers. You know, all the guys there, all three people that I mentioned, really know their stuff. They're very nice people. I'll put the Facebook links to their pages in the description below. So if you are watching from the Durham area or you plan on visiting Durham, do make sure you check them out. Very nice guys, like I say, and you will get some pretty good beer recommendations there. And particularly if you talk to Mark and Dave, you'll be in for a treat when it comes to wines and spirits as well. They're really clued up on their wines too. But I thank you to all three of you for your help over the last year. But oddly enough, for this review that I'm doing that's dedicated to them, I'm reviewing a beer that I didn't buy from any of them actually. So for this one, I chose a style of beer that I really love, and if you've watched the channel before you might be able to guess what this is. But I always love trying Scotch ales from different countries, and today I have my first English brewed Scotch ale. I actually bought this beer, I'm sure, from Beer Hive down in Manchester when I was meeting the other beer tubers. So for this one we're going to go down to Buxton, which is in Derbyshire in England, and we're doing a review from the Buxton Brewery. This is a beer that they did in collaboration with the Cromarty Brewery from the Black Isle. It's called Cranachan and it's a Scotch ale at 9.5%, and it should be a really awesome beer this. I think it was rated 98 overall on Rate Beer, and it had like a 3.4 or something like that when I checked it out on Untappd as well. So it should be a really bloody good beer. As I said, I love reviewing Scotch ales and I hope you guys enjoy my take on this one. I think this is a really good way to kind of sign off from my reviews that I've filmed in England as a Scottish-English collaboration, this one. So yeah, looking forward to this, and as I say, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done, both from Buxton and from Cromarty Brewery. No doubt I'll add some more from each of them in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you, and another one for all the English beers. This one will, of course, appear in both of those. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel, sorry, is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about Buxton and Cromarty then. So first off with Buxton, since this beer is actually brewed there. So Buxton Brewery, as I've told you before, are based in Buxton, and it's a spa town which is in Derbyshire in England, and the brewery was founded by Jeff Quinn back in 2010, and apparently it has a staff of only 5 people. So the local area is known as the Peak District, and it's really famed for its water, which apparently has been revered since Roman times, and they called the town Aqua Arnimitae. I've pronounced that correctly, probably not because I'm not very good at Latin, but this translates to the waters of the goddess of spring, and most of their beers are named after local geographical and geological features in the Buxton area. But the tower that's depicted on a lot of their labels is actually called Solomon's Temple or Grinlow Tower. It was a folly tower rather than having any kind of military or defensive purpose, so they used it simply for decoration actually. But the Buxton beers have won many accolades, and the brewery's been consistently ranked in the world top 100 breweries by Rate Beer, and at full capacity capacity, they can brew somewhere around 60,000 litres of beer per month, and they're now exporting to somewhere around 20 countries worldwide. So if it comes to English craft beer, Buxton Brewery are definitely one of the ones that you want to check out. A lot of the English breweries now that are really quite revered are focusing on brewing the hazy IPAs and stuff like this, but what I would say about Buxton is they're one of the ones who've really kind of kept up with a diversity of style. They brew stouts, they brew sours, they do brew IPAs and things like that. They've got Scotch ales, I'm sure I've seen brown ales and all of these kind of things from them. So they are a really quite diverse brewery. So in that sense, they're definitely one of the English craft breweries that you want to check out. And I mean, they've brewed a lot of stouts with Omnipollo. That's probably one of their strongest styles that they do. So if you are interested in English craft beer, I think Buxton are definitely one of the ones that you're going to have a good experience with, and hopefully I can review a few more of their beers at some point fairly soon, because I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I haven't actually ever been able to do a dedicated video to the Buxton Brewery, so that's something that I really need to sort. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about the Buxton Brewery just now. If you want to learn a little bit more, the website is in the video description below, and I'll put the Facebook page for you there as well, so you can keep up to date with what's going on, because Buxton are fairly prolific. They do put out quite a lot of different beers, so if you follow them on Facebook, you can keep up to date with that. But anyway, onto the Scottish side of the brewery then. So Cromarty Brewing Company, as I've told you before, these guys are located on the Black Isle, which is about 20 miles to the north of Inverness, and historically the Black Isle was a malt producing region, and much of this was used in brewing locally, or it was exported, of course. But the original Cromarty Brewery was established by George and Alexander Ross back in 1790, and it was located next to a burn on the eastern extremity of the Cromarty village at the corner of Miller Road and Burnside Place in the modern village. But it was quite a large brewery considering the times, and it's thought that the port of Cromarty was used to export beer in addition to the cereals for the malts that the Black Isle was really renowned for. But this brewery unfortunately hit financial difficulties in the 1820s when several whisky distilleries were opening up on the Black Isle, and this brewery ceased operations in the 1850s. That's the last known record that they have of it. But this reincarnation of it is a family run business which consists of Craig, Chap and Jenny Middleton. So Craig, of course, is a graduate of the brewing programme at Heriot-Watt, which is, provided a lot of craft brewers across the world. A lot of the brewers in Norway and Sweden and things have gone to Heriot-Watt for their brewing degrees. But while studying at Heriot-Watt, Craig had been well known to produce beer in his student halls and flat basements, and after he completed his degree, he worked for periods in Odell's Brewery over in Colorado. He also worked at the Cairngorm Brewery in Aviemore in Scotland as well. But while working in these breweries, he really decided that he wanted to brew his own beer and put his own beers on the market. So he applied for grants and bank loans to finance the brewery, and he got it up and running. But Craig's dad Chap is the brewery engineer, and he's quite involved in the maintenance of the brewing equipment, while his mum Jenny deals largely with the admin side of the brewery. But work on the brewery building commenced in the spring of 2011, and this kind of hectic year culminated with them finally producing their first casks of beer on the 19th of December in 2011 as well. So these guys, as I would say, when their beers first arrived on the scene in Scotland, everyone was, raving about them. The Cromarty Brewery, they do some pretty awesome beers. They are still experimenting a little bit, but you don't see, they're not as prolific a brewery as they were when they first started up, but their beers are really good quality. I mean, Rogue Wave, Man Overboard, and things like that. I think Craig is quite, from what I gather, when the brewery kind of started up, that he is quite sort of pernickety with his recipes and things like that. He likes to, to really make sure that they are kind of really well done and stuff like that. I think they do have another brewer at the brewery now as well, but they do some really awesome beers. The Rogue Wave, the Happy Chappy, the Man Overboard in terms of the IPAs, they're really pretty good. They've got a good white IPA up there as well. One of the more interesting beers that they do is Utter Madness, which is like a milk sour Berliner Weiss or something like that. So they've got some really kind of wacky stuff up there. But I do recommend that you check out the Cromarty Brewery. They're one of the really solid producers when it comes to Scottish craft beer, of course, but I would like to see them experiment a little bit more. So hopefully I can review some more beers from them at some point in the fairly near future, but make sure you check them out if you are interested in Scottish craft beer. Again, their website and their Facebook page are in the video description for you below to check out. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. So yeah, there you can see the yachts out there. It looks like they're not the yachts, rather the kind of sailboats. That actually does look a little bit like the kind of Black Isle there. when you look at the artwork on this. I think I'm definitely going to keep this bottle because this is quite a special beer, this one. So yeah, it says on the back here, the Cranachan, inspired by a favourite Scottish dessert, we brewed this decadent Scotch ale with raspberries, toasted oatmeal, honey and cream, and then aged it for 2 years in Highland whisky barrels. So like I say, it is a pretty special beer, this one. There you can see plain bottle cap on this one, and you can see the Cromarty and Buxton Brewery symbols on the back of this one. But yeah, the artwork on this is lovely. As I say, this is a special beer. I think I paid like $8.50 or something like this, and it was literally because, you know, you're probably never ever going to find this beer again. I'm sure I bought it in Beer Hive when I was down in Manchester with the beer tubing guys. But yeah, it should be a really, really lovely beer, this one. So I'm certainly looking forward to having a go at this. But let's get it out then, and we'll get on with the tasting. So yeah, nice smoky opening then, and we'll get it out and into the glass, and you can really smell the raspberries off this. I've not had a Cranachan in ages actually. It's a really nice dessert, so I will need to try and get one when I get back up the road. But yeah, look at that. That's a lovely beer. Ooh, yeah, lovely, lovely stuff. Yeah, so when you look at this beer, it's actually one of the murkier Scotch ales that I've come across, to be quite honest with you. That's a nice dark mahogany kind of chestnut colour. I would say it's more of a dark kind of mahogany tiki colour, to be honest, rather than chestnut. It doesn't quite have the redness of chestnut, although if I hold it up to the light, it does get a little bit of a kind of ruby edge to it, or a kind of cola coloured edge to it, to be honest. But yeah, it is the sort of colour range that you would expect for a Scotch ale. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, but quite a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. The head, incidentally, is just a very thin, foamy layer, and I would say it's a kind of fawn colour that's coming out of this one. But this beer, actually, when you're sugaring up a little bit, it really does smell quite tart, to be honest with you. Those raspberries are kind of coming out. Scotland, of course, is well known for producing strawberries and raspberries. And a lot of those are used in the desserts like the Cranachan, and you can really smell that sharp raspberry tartness coming out of this beer. So let's just take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on with this one. Oh, yeah. That's a really interesting aroma coming out of the beer. So as I was saying, first off, you're getting the red fruits, you know, you're getting the tartness from the raspberries, you're getting the a little bit of a kind of strawberry note to it as well, to be honest. There's a little bit of another red fruit in there, but it's definitely got a kind of boozy, cakey aroma to it, this one. You can really smell the kind of, the sort of peaty notes, I think, from the casks. Yeah, definitely. It's got there's a lot of brown sugar to this beer, which, as you would expect, it's really quite a strong treacle note that's coming out of this, actually. And, you know, you're getting a little bit of that oaky vanilla, to be honest, as well. But there's definitely a little bit of a peaty element to this, which I always love. I do love a good bit of peat. I mean, when it comes to whiskies and stuff, I love peaty whiskies. You know this if you've watched the channel, because I absolutely love the German Rauch beers as well. I love smoky things. But yeah, smooth, you know, the hops in this beer, it is kind of earthy and smooth. You can definitely pick up a little bit of the earthiness. Woody and nutty notes, kind of almost a little bit vanilla, oaky kind of quality, like I was saying. But yeah, nice little bit of earthy quality to it. The tart raspberries in there as well. There's definitely a bit of a roasted element to this one. It's got a bit of a roasted kind of brown bready quality in there, but the kind of almost cherry notes from the cask, I'm guessing, are really kind of covering that a little bit. Woody, oaky kind of qualities as well. But you know, it's just a lovely aroma, this beer. It really, it almost smells a little bit like a sour beer. If I was to have a blindfold on and smell this beer, I probably would reckon it's a sour beer just because of how tart the raspberries were. But I'd probably be quite confused by the malt base on this one, because there's a lot of stuff going on in it. But as I say, a lot of nice brown sugars. It's got a little touch of biscuity note to it as well when you get further away from it, but it's a kind of darker sort of toasty treacle kind of thing that's coming out of this beer. But take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck in, because it's definitely one of the more unusual aromas that you're going to come across in terms of craft beer. But let's have a taste of this one now then. So this one is the Cranachan, a 9.5% Scotch ale brewed with raspberries and aged in Highland in Highland Park whisky barrels for 2 years, from Cromarty Brewing Company and Buxton Brewing in England. Let's get stuck into this. As I say, this is a cracking beer for me to sign off from Durham with. So as I say, I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Ooh, yeah. Aye. Right. That's a really interesting one, actually. It's definitely one of the more unusual beers I've come across. With this one, take a few sips of it and let your whole mouth adjust to the beer before you start just before you start analysing the flavour too much, because there's a lot going on in this one. I will say that about it. Yeah. So for me, this beer, you can feel a little bit of that kind of bready quality. That blankets the middle of your palate there. There's definitely a kind of charred element to that. I don't think it's quite black malt, to be honest with you. It's a bit too strong to simply be black malt. There's definitely there's a big charred element that just kind of goes in on the base of your tongue there. You can really taste a little bit of that bready note, and then that charred element to the beer is there as well. As you take a few more sips of this one, it starts to open up a little bit more. Yeah, it really does start to open up a little bit more. You get the kind of caramelly notes coming out of the beer as well. I would say, I mean, I'm quite surprised with this one, because in terms of the aroma, I was picking up like a really sort of dark toasty treacle, but the brown sugars in this beer are actually, you know, they're on the sweeter side of things, which I really didn't expect from the aroma. Yeah, just pay attention to the middle of your palate there, because those nice brown sugar notes are there, right in the middle of your tongue. Again, because this beer actually does take a while for your palate to adjust to, because as I say, there's a hell of a lot going on in it. But in the middle of your palate, you can actually pick up a little bit of that dark treacle note to the beer, but then kind of spreading around it, that's where you get, it's almost like you've got a dot in the middle of your tongue. You've got that dark, toasted, sort of treacly flavour there. Then as you go around that and start to spread out, that's when you get the lighter, sort of sweeter caramel notes. And then as you go further out towards the edge of the tongue, you've got a little bit of biscuit, and then you've got this the roasted grainy qualities to this beer start to come out as well. But I think that, I've got a feeling that's maybe, it's almost like it's the kind of charring from the edge of the cask. Like, it really is quite well fired, this beer. It does taste well fired, I should say, rather. But in terms of the flavours compared to the Cranachan dessert, they've done it pretty well, actually, I have to say. They've done a nice job with this beer. Towards the front of the tongue, there's definitely a little bit of that woody quality coming out of the beer. It's not quite vanilla, it is more of a slightly spicy wood quality, I would say. Yeah, you can just feel that as you kind of come forward on the tongue, definitely towards the front of where the malty qualities are going to come out. There is a little bit of that woody note. It's a little bit spicy. That kind of evolves into a sort of nutty flavour as you go further and further into the aftertaste of the beer, I would say. But the spicy woody note does kind of linger there into the aftertaste, and it actually mixes quite well with that sort of roasty, charred flavour that's sitting there in this beer too. As I say, there's a hell of a lot going on in this beer, so you really need to just be on your toes and pay attention with this one. So back corners of the palate, you've got a nice earthiness there. As you come, it's quite a strong earthiness actually, and again that builds a good bridge with that sort of charred backbone that the beer has. But as you come further forward along the sides of your palate, it does smooth out a little bit, but that earthiness sticks there all the way to the front corners of the tongue. Then round the very front curve of the palate, you can pick up just a little touch of grassiness in there, but that's very, very minimal. The main hoppy element to this beer is the sort of is the kind of earthiness that's there, and that the bitterness that has. It's actually quite cool how this one goes together. You've got the spicy wood notes, you've got the charred kind of thing with the malt base, and then you've got a bit of bitterness from the earthy hop. Those three things all kind of merge together in a really, really cool way. It makes the beer sort of flow properly, if that makes sense. But yeah, around the edge of your tongue, you can definitely pick up that tart raspberry element to the beer. As I've always said, when it comes to actually adding fruit to the beer, you can always tell, because you get the fruity qualities around the edge of your tongue rather than behind the front curve of the palate. In this case, of course, though, you do get a little bit of both. There is that little oily bubble behind the front curve of your tongue there. You can get a little bit of a fruity element to that one, but the tartness from the raspberries is definitely coming out on the edge of the tongue too. But yeah, in terms of the sort of fruitiness from the hops in this one, there's a little bit of it does have a bit of sharpness to it. It's almost like it's a bit of a kind of raisiny sharpness that's coming out of this beer, which is quite interesting. That mixes quite well with the raspberries. There's maybe a little bit of a sort of candied red fruit there, almost like the Haribo, the little hearts in the Haribo Star Mix sweets. I compare the red fruity esters to that quite a lot, but I would say it does lean a little bit more towards the kind of raisiny sharpness there. But again, that mixes quite well with the raspberries that are coming out of this beer, and the grassy elements. That you can definitely feel the raspberries lingering there on the edge of your tongue, but some of the grassy elements from the hops start to push their way out as well. But overall, I mean, this is a really, really nice beer. It definitely leans towards that kind of roasty, charry side of things. That's what's coming out in the aftertaste. A little bit of the raspberries are lingering there. Some of that woody kind of spicy flavour as well, and the earthy hops. I mean, this beer for me, it's definitely one of the more bitter Scotch ales that I've had. It's not one of the sweeter ones, definitely, so it makes it really interesting. I don't think I've ever had a Scotch ale that is quite like this one, and in terms of the Cranachan dessert, you know, it is fairly close to that, so a thumbs up to both Cromarty and Buxton for that. This has been a really interesting beer to taste. I don't think I've ever had a Scotch ale that's quite like this one. Most of them do tend to be quite a bit sweeter than this, so well done to the guys at both breweries for doing something that's a little bit different. And I have to say, pardon me, I have actually really enjoyed trying this beer, so big thumbs up to both of you. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, I would say, I'm not sure, yeah, full-bodied beer, at the bottom end of full-bodied this one. Carbonation's very, very smooth. The mouthfeel overall is quite oily with this beer. Like I said, there's a good little bit of bitterness from the hops. You're definitely getting a little bit of bitterness from the earthiness. The malt base overall is really quite bitter on this one. There is a little bit of sweetness there, but the bitterness really, from that kind of charry flavour that this beer has, the bitterness really kind of takes over with this one, and you do get a bit of spiciness as well from the woody flavours. Like I was saying, there's a lot of kind of juicy fruit in this one. It is a little bit tart as well, but there is a little touch of sweetness from the malt base there too. But as I say, mainly a kind of bitter beer, this one, both from the hops and from that cherry note that the beer has, and also a little bit from the spiciness in the wood too. But juicy fruits, a little bit tart. Really, really interesting beer, this one. Definitely, probably the most, yeah, I think that's fair to say, probably the most unusual Scotch ale that I've reviewed for you on the channel so far. So this was definitely an interesting one to use as my kind of sign-off beer from Durham. So yeah, let's leave it at that. I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. This is one that I've certainly enjoyed reviewing for you. One of the more unusual beers that I've come across actually, so I'm really glad that I was able to review this beer for you on the channel, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. I hope you've enjoyed all the reviews that I've filmed for you in Durham so far. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below if you have tried it yourself. Let me know what your favourite beers are, both from Cromarty and from Buxton. Hopefully I can do a dedicated Buxton review for you at some point soon. I always seem to just come across collaborations from these guys, but I will catch you guys very soon with more beer reviews. Thank you for all your support over my time in Durham, and you will be seeing some more Scottish and then some more Swedish reviews at some point very soon. So until the next time, slàinte just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. This one was the Cranachan, a collaboration brew between Buxton Brewery from Derbyshire in England and the Cromarty Brewery from the Black Isle in the Highlands in Scotland. Until the next time, slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Skål.